At this point, every single review of a PlayStation VR wave shooter starts off sounding exactly the same. We lament the fact that it's an overpopulated genre, and that developers can't come up with a better use for two move controllers than two guns to shoot wave after wave of enemies, zombies, alien invaders, teddy bears, bouncing fruit, whatever, and then try desperately to discover the game's hook, what makes it unique or helps it stand out from the crowd. Well, Guns and Stories Bulletproof doesn't stray too far from the tried and true formula, and indeed does have a few hooks to help it stand out. But for a game that's called Guns and Stories, I have to say that while the guns are decidedly pretty cool, the stories are decidedly hit or miss.
Go! Cover me!
In the old days, good old Sin Town looked way different, Robbie.
First of all, I have to give credit to the developers for ripping off The Princess Bride. The whole game is delivered through the motif of a grandfather telling his grandson stories about his experiences in the Old West. It's an interesting experiment that almost nearly succeeds, but neither the humor nor the delivery of the lines ever really worked for me, and by the end of the short campaign I was already skipping every cutscene that popped up, all of which are well drawn, but with minimal animation and presented in flat, non-VR. Where the storytelling does work, however, is when it's told in-game. Sometimes the grandson corrects the old man's faltering memory, which changes what's happening mid-firefight, from the weapons you're holding, to the enemies that are on screen, to even the environments. It's a mechanic that's relatively funny and mixes things up when you least expect it, but for something that works so well, it's tremendously underutilized.
Okay, Grandpa, I believe you. Everything was just as you were saying.
Killing spree.
Other than that, everything else here is pretty standard fare. The music and sound effects get the job done, and the graphics are colorful but with some really rough edges. And like most games in the genre, every stage has you standing in one place. Dodging the slow motion bullets or ricocheting them off your weapon is fun for a while, invoking memories of Super Hot or Blasters of the Universe, but the levels here don't have the staying power of either of those two games. Each one starts off okay, but then goes on far too long and without much variety, making the 90-minute campaign feel longer than it should. Like most wave shooters, the point is to replay it over and over, get a high score on every difficulty on every stage. But without online leaderboards, Guns and Stories makes that experience a solitary one. Once you're done with the campaign, there's still plenty to do, with 6 mindless minigames, and the option to replay each stage in arcade mode, allowing you to forego the story and play with any weapon you choose. I have to say that the gun selection is great, and like everything else in Bulletproof, doesn't take itself too seriously, with everything from pistols and Tommy guns to imaginative steampunk-inspired laser cannons.
Rampage. Double kill.
2 years into the PlayStation VR lifespan has given us more wave shooters than I can count. Some are absolute must-haves, while others, like this, just feel like filler. Don't get me wrong, Guns and Stories Bulletproof is actually entertaining for a bit. It's just not all that memorable. It's missing that magic that makes you strive for a better score, the allure that pulls you back after every wave for just one more try, or the excitement and intensity of a Shooty Fruity or Space Pirate Trainer. There's plenty to do here if it happens to rope you in, but for me, the fun wore off much too soon.
Double kill. Triple kill.